The Gamers, Kyla's Rescue, written and narrated by C. Taylor, edited to meet YouTube guidelines. To purchase the unedited book, please click the link in the description. Chapter 1. Trald watched the monitors from Baron Rumore's private secure workroom as cameras scanned all 4 testing sessions, 4 massive rooms filled with row after row of touch tablets. All testers focused on their screen, working the program's features to ensure they were clean before final release. He was getting close. He could feel it. If he was right, whoever had been changing the code was somewhere in these 4 rooms. Now all he needed was a change in the code to be detected, confirm which program was altered, then separate those in that room until the list narrowed to 1. The testing sessions were almost finished. Trall's hand clenched into a fist as it lowered, slow and controlled until it pressed against the desk, turning his knuckles white. 6 months. The search had already taken 6 months and started only after the anomalies had been noticed. Changes in code no one should be able to make. Base code that they couldn't track to any terminal. They needed to find whoever was doing this, not only to stop them, but to find out how. And it all had to be done quietly. Trald refused to calculate the possible losses this jerk had already cost them. Once they had the information they needed, they could discreetly recall any altered program that had already been released. Until then, they had no way of knowing how long it had been happening or which programs had been changed, and they certainly couldn't recall everything without alarming the potentate. He checked the time. Only 10 minutes left of this testing session. His mind already separating the final 20 possible candidates into rooms with no more than 5 per room for the next session. The lights in the room changed to red. Anomaly detected. Anomaly detected. The sultry female voice repeated the alarm. Mel, which program? He asked calmly, his pulse racing but not showing a single sign of his excitement. Mass Population Interior Design Program, she answered. Trall's eyes narrowed. The newlings? Trall tapped his control panel, expanding the video feed of that room. Mel, show me the focus testers on that program. Green targets surrounded the backs of 5 heads from cameras mainly focused on the programs, not the testers. Before this issue was found, there hadn't been any need to monitor the testers' faces, just their actions with the screens, and adding cameras would have caused too many uncomfortable questions. 5 smaller dark screens appeared at the top of the testing room image, waiting for each target to show their faces for the capture. Still 6 minutes left of the session. Trolls watched the backs of each target's heads, looking for any odd movements or secretive glances that would help him in his search. Mel, what was changed? He asked, unwilling to wait. Fabric color option 536 darkened slightly. No current number matches the new color in the database. Troll's eyes narrowed. Mel, double check the database. Code for this color has to be in there somewhere. Expanding search to include historical data. If it was a discontinued color, no newling would know to use it. If not found, had he created a new one? Was the person doing this not just changing existing code? Were they making new code? The creation of their code was heavily regulated and completely restricted. The programmers themselves, once chosen, were completely isolated except from each other for the entire rest of their lives and were constantly monitored. Once a program was created, access to changes were completely severed until updates were needed. None of this made any sense. They, at the very least, should be investigating generational testers, not newlings, maybe even programmers. Trall's arm raised again and lowered, hand clenched and pressed into the desk surface harder. Their lead had sent them 6 months in the wrong direction. Trall let out a frustrated breath. Slightly growling sounds rumbled with it as he fought to control his fury. He turned his back to the desk and took several deep breaths. He needed to think, a new plan, had to develop a new strategy. He needed to find whoever was doing this and punish him. His lip curled in evil pleasure as his mind involuntarily started creating options for this. Whoever is doing this would not like what would be done to him, but Trald would. Pings sounded behind him, indicating captures were being taken of the focus testers. Trald rolled his eyes and turned around as he reached to break the streaming video feed. No use in wasting time even looking at the focus testers. He froze. His hand that was about to break the feed started to shake, his eyes staring at the girl. Her head was slightly ducked, but he saw enough. This couldn't be. The name below her image, Kyla of Malyak. Malyak, that's how she'd done it. Memories raced through his mind. They'd searched everywhere, but he hadn't even considered that planet. She would have never survived it. He was looking at proof that she had, at least long enough to give birth to a daughter. Other memories raced through his mind, memories that potentially explained the changes they'd been finding, changes they'd not been able to track, changes to base code. Complete scan done, no registered number for the color change. And creating new code outside of any regulation. His head lowered, eyes still on the image, her image, and a smile raised to his lips. Mel, order Baron Moray to a secure workroom now. Kyla heard something. Her eyes opened silently and scanned her small apartment. She kept her breathing deep and slow, stayed motionless on her bed as her eyes moved around her room and into the small kitchen and sitting room beyond. She couldn't see any movement, didn't hear anything else, but it was dark and there was so much she could be missing. Her only help was on the wall furthest from where she lay. She took one last deep breath to calm herself, then sprang. 2 leaps, she made it to the wall and hit Sky's number. A hand grabbed her hair and yanked. She spun, elbow connecting with something behind her, heard a soft crunch and a deep groan. She felt an instant sting across her face, the impact knocking her off her feet and she was down to the ground. She heard the wall unit announce the communication request, calling Sky Rano Dule. Please answer, Sky. Kyla pleaded silently as she kicked low at the shadow coming for her again. Another crack, another groan, then a thud. She reached for the door leading to the hall. An explosion next to her sent chunks of her communication panel all over the room before Sky could answer. The door gave way and she leaped. Something gripped her ankle so tight it felt it might break as her body moved and she realized her foot wouldn't be able to catch her fall. She tried to move her arms to catch herself and minimize the impact, but they instantly felt weak. The floor hit hard. Light from the hall finally aided her eyes and she saw the hand holding her ankle, the needle sticking out of her leg connected to the vial. Tears sprang from her eyes as she desperately clawed with her weakening hands and tried to pull herself free, part of her body already out of the apartment and into the hall. She felt one sharp pull back and the hall slid out of reach. The door closed. Everything went black.